was the last kapitel that he was at that time saying. Those are the kapitlach that the Rebbe was in the middle of, and the Rebbe is continuing in a related topic having to do with the Parsha, but he's going to go back to those kapitlach and Tillim. We'll talk about them perhaps in the Sikha, perhaps not. We'll see. We're going to start from line 10. It's known what the Holy Ohr Hachaim wrote. He wrote a Pirush on Chumash that is mixed with a lot of matters that are both Kabbalah oriented, very similar, the Chassidus style topics, and he was from the Achenu Bnei Asfardim, like the Rebbe calls it, from Chaim Ibn Akbar. It says, Geulah, the Rebbe says, like it's known, the greatness about him, Shaykhusay or Baal Shem Tov, and the connection that there was between the Ohr Hachaim and the Baal Shem Tov, that the Ohr Hachaim wanted to meet up with the Baal Shem Tov. According to what's explained in the letters of the Baal Shem Tov's brother-in-law, Rav Gershon Kitover. So the Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh writes the Pirusha Laskos Parshas Tzav in his commentary at the beginning of our Parsha, Parshas Tzav. Zois Toiras HaOyla, this is the law of the Oyla, Hiya Oyla Al-Moita Gomer. It is what goes up upon being a fire offering, it's a Moikat Eish, and so on. So the Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh says, Shebederech Remez, that in a manner of a hint, Tirmes Kol HaParsha Ala Golus HaAchrim She'anu Boi, this entire section that talks about Tzav, Yisrael, Zois Toiras HaOyla, is hinting on this final Golus that we are in it, to comfort us from the sadness that we are experiencing. And the Ohr Hachaim explains over there, where it says this is the carbon oil that is brought as an offering or a fire upon the Mizbeach. It's referring to the suffering of Yidden in exile. Asher inunu b'nei avla, that wicked people had made us suffer. Yisrunu b'yisurin kama, and they tortured us with tortures of vengefulness. B'frat b'nei ma'irav hapnimi, that especially those people from the inner West. There's the people from the eastern countries, and then there's the western countries. There is no bitter cup that they didn't always give us to taste from. All this is poetic language for suffering and so on. You do as it's known, Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh, Africa, as it's known that the Holy Ohr Hachaim lived in Africa. I guess North Africa, this is a very big community of Yidden. Over there, the afflictions and the persecutions of the Yidden from the nations of the world was very, very powerful. And like he continues, Ohr Hachaim continues, if you really come to look, you want to examine this, the Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh says that what we're going through in this Golus is worse than Golus Mitzrayim. The Golus Mitzrayim, because in Golus Mitzrayim they would enslave us, but they also fed us and they also gave us clothing. Say Lamad Masha Amar Azal, but Pirish Zacharnos, Vegomer, Kishuim Vegomer, Chinam Hoyo Echem HaKoil. Go out and learn from what Chazal said, that we remember the fish and the melons or the gourds that we would eat, chinam, that they would eat everything for free. So in other words, they enslaved us, but like the custom was with a slave, the masters would feed their slave. So at least when it was in Golus Mitzrayim, the Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh is saying, they fed us. The Hein Golus Ishmaelim, and this is what is the Golus Ishmaelim, the Golus of the Arabs, the Sham Chai Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh, that were there where the Arabs had we are in exile amongst Asher Misha Asheloi Ra'am Mishabdim Umimarim Chai Yisrael. The fortunate is those for those that have not witnessed how they enslave and they make the life of Eden bitter. Not only do the Ishmaelim, the Arabs, not pay us, and in addition to that, they ask from us, go measure and bring us more stuff. And a person is additionally robbed from whatever he has, and they demand from him money that he doesn't have by putting all these different types of taxes. Like there's different stories about the Parshas, and all of a sudden they come to the Jews and say, we want you to give us X amount of money. Well, then, because of concerning these type of afflictions, it says in the pasuk, the klolus inyan hagolus, the general idea of exile, it's like being brought up as an offering upon the mizbeach. So the pasuk says, Yerak kol halayla. The pasuk says it will only be the entire night. The Hizman HaGolus, Hanimshul HaLayla, it's the time of Golus, so the time of Golus is likened to the night, but it will be only Ad HaBoiker till the morning, Boiker HaGeulah till the morning of the redemption. So the Pasuk is assuring us and telling us that this will end with the redemption in the morning. Mamshech Sham, line 24, the Ohr Hachaim continues. This is everything you're seeing in quotation marks is everything that the Rebbe is quoting from the Ohr Hachaim in our Parsha. Vazmanhu, and the time that we're in is Achar Avor Tovkuf LaElef Hashlishim. It's already after the 500 years of the sixth millennium, meaning after the year 5,500. That's the time when the Geulah should be coming. According to what's already from our words, was already preceded from the, I'm sorry, not from our words, was already preceded to us from their words. Because the day of the Eibishter is 1,000 years. So therefore, if 1,000 years is an entire day of Hashem, like it says in Tehillim, so therefore, the first 500 years is the night, because by us, the day follows the night. We start by night, and then we go to the day. So the first 500 years is the night, and the second 500 years is the day. Vaydia Hashem, and Hashem let us know, ki ada boike, until the morning, when 500 years will be concluded in Golus of this sixth millennium, Ada Boiker Shehiyah Aliyah, until the morning where there'll be this elevation. Mamshech Zeh, and Mamshech Sham, and he continues over there. Boiker Zeh, Einan Yedeh im Zeh Boiker Shel Elef Hahei, by Boiker Shel Elef Hagimel. We don't know if this is the morning of the 5,000th one, or the morning of the 3rd 1,000. So he revealed his secret in the hands of his servants, the prophets, that it's the second morning. And that's what it says that their might will be to the mornings, lebeis bekarim, to 2 mornings, leboiker beis im loy leboiker aleph. It will not be for the second morning if it won't be for the first morning. It's how you do it. It says till the morning, the well-known morning, Shuhu Beis. It's the second one, Veloy Boiker Abba Rishon Begolus, not the first morning that comes in exile. In other words, what the Rebbe is saying is as follows: that all it says is that the exile will be in the morning of the God's day, but the Golus did not begin until we got into the fourth millennium and the fifth millennium. So we don't know which millennium, which thousand of years, but the morning is talking about. So the Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh brought a proof that we're talking about the second morning, not the first morning of these millenniums of Golus. In other words, there's 2,000 years of Golus that were in Golus race since the destruction of Beis Hamikdash, a little bit over 2,000. So it could have been the first 1,000 or the second 1,000. So the Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh brings it's in the second 1,000, and he brings a proof from a pasuk. Line 30. So now the Rebbe says as follows: since it's already Shazman who Achra Tov Kutlal Vashish, since it's already after the passing of the year 500 to the 6th millennium. In other words, it's past 5,500 on the Jewish calendar. That already took place in the days of the Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh. And they move in the Parshas, so it's obviously and self-understood. After it passed by many years from the beginning of the morning of the 6th millennium, surely the time has come that the Geulah should already come. Now the Rebbe is going to return further to what the Ohr Hachaim HaKadosh says in those psukim. So it says, further, line 33, he continues in the pasuk, that the kohen will dress a garment of linen, similar to what the Chazal say, every Jewish soul that the nations killed for sanctification of Hashem's name, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Roshim Mitzdamei Tzuras HaNereg Ahuva Malbush. Hashem marks from the blood of that killed person the image of that person that was killed on his on a garment. And that garment Hashem Kaviyachol will dress himself in the day of his vengeance. The Rebbe adds now to what the Ohr Hachaim said. Especially since the nation of the world's added and made even more bad in the difficulty of the exile of the Yidden. Maybe by Ohr Hachaim's Machlokes HaRambam v'Haravid Menegel Mishpat HaUmas Kanal Sif Mem Gimel, like the Ohr Hachaim brings earlier the dispute of the Rambam and the Ravid about how that will be how the Goyim will be judged for what they did to the Yidden. And this is this idea of the judgment is umasik, and this conclusion of the Ohr Hachaim is that they will the Goyim that afflicted the Yidden will be punished because from the fact that they added more to the punishment kaviyachol than they should have given to the Yidden. So from that we could bring a proof what was their intention when they made the Yidden suffer. If the intention of those that made the Yidden suffer was only to fulfill because Hashem wanted the Yidden to go into Golus. They shouldn't have added anything to the suffering of what they could have suffered. So in other words, they could have been in exile by the Goyim, but they don't have to go ahead and make them suffer in a very terrible manner and look for all types of ways and search for all types of ways how to make them suffer. The fact that they added Gilu Daitom, they showed their purpose and their intent, that they do not do this because of the mitzvah, because this was what Hashem wanted, that the Yidden should be in Golus. That's what it says. Upon the Mizbeach, al Mizbeach means higher than the Mizbeach. That they added more than the measure that was for the atonement that Hashem established for them. So in other words, the Goyim are going to end up paying because they weren't just innocent messengers to fulfill the purpose that we had to be in Golus. Then the Ohr Hachaim continues in explaining what it says further in the Parsha of Tzav, Messiah because of, and he concludes in the Pasuk, that says that the Kohen will remove his garments and he will put on other garments. Because the first garments were ones to make judgment against those that are going to did wickedness against us, like we said before. The Midoi Vadi puts on the garments that are for punishing the Goyim. The Achshav Balaheitiv Loitzienu Ma Golus Balaheitiv Oisalno. And now Hashem comes to do good for us and to take us out of exile to do good for us. Lazeh Yilbash Big Day Bechinas Hatava. For this he will clothe himself in garments of goodness. Because he will not delay the ingathering of the exiles. I'll take it from a yadi kabis to but immediately he will gather our scattered ones. The future redemption will be similar to your going out of the land of Mitzrayim. Like I said, this was the Rebbe was talking about Kapitel Pei Aleph and Tehillim. This is close to Yud Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's birthday. So therefore, it was close to the Rebbe's 80th birthday. So he was discussing both Kapitel Pei and Pei Aleph and Tehillim. So this was right in the middle of that discussion. So the third section of Kapitel Pei and Tehillim, the Rebbe speaks about the general idea of Geulah. It's also actually in the earlier section, the Rebbe speaks a lot about Geulah as well. It says, Gefen me Mitzrayim Tasiyah. You have made travel the vine from Egypt. The vine is going on the Yidden. They are likened to the vine, and you have made them travel. So the Rebbe says it's not just limited to Mitzrayim, but Mitzrayim koyal close in Golus. Mitzrayim is referring to the general idea of the exile. Chazal say, Kol Malchus Nikral Shem Mitzrayim Chulu. All the kingdoms, all the governments that enslaved us are all called by the name Mitzrayim. The Gefem of Mitzrayim Tasiyah, where it says that you will make the vine, meaning the Jewish people, travel out of Mitzrayim, Koyal Yitziyah Megols Mitzrayim. It's referring to leaving and traveling and going out of the Golus Mitzrayim. Especially leaving the spinal Golus. That concerning this, it says, like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders. So over there in the Pasuk it says, you will chase out the nations and you will plant her. In other words, you will plant the vine of the Eden and you will make it take root. that you will chase away the nations and you will make an open space for the Yidden, that should be able to be the idea of planting it in a way that should take root, in a way that's established and in an everlasting way. Let's skip over a little bit. Okay, maybe not. Let's just continue over here. He says over here further, but oretz, you will fill the earth. Koyal amshacha the oram malklam. It's referring to the drawing down of the light of Memalklam, that light that fills the worlds. That's why it says Vatimale oretz v'loy zubova. Not only that, alakosu arim tzila, that the mountains will be covered by its shade. Meloshin Seila Makif, the idea of a shade and encompassing level or Amshachas Oira Sevuklam. Then it goes on in that Perek in Tilim. And its branches are the cedars of Hashem. Kol in Yoni Agula. Yiyu Loirak Levernegeya Legedoilim Vegedoilis. The entire matters of the redemption will not be just for adult men, adult women. Also concerning young boys and young girls, they are called your branches. They will also be like the cedars of Hashem. And even more so, they are the ones that recognized it first. They were ones that recognized the Eibishter first. That you will send its harvest to the west or to the sea and to the river, those saplings. It's the general effect of the Yidden in the world is not just concerning themselves, but also concerning the general world. To such a degree that the Yidden affect a refinement and elevation in matters of the opposite, in matters of the other side. They affect the sea and they affect the river. And the sea and the river show on Klippa, similar to what's explained in Torah Ohr, concerning the great waters will not be able to extinguish the love. The great waters, referring to matters of the opposite side that bother and prevent and delay the service of Hashem. That's what it means, that your harvest you will send to the sea and to the river. It's saplings. We're affecting even matters of the opposite side, the sea and the river. Why did you break through its barriers? In the simple sense, referring to, like, we're talking about saplings and things that grow, and you put like protections around them, fences and so on. So he says, the idea of breaking through its barriers and its fences is referring to the general service of spreading out Yiddishkeit and spreading out the wellsprings. Specifically through the well-known Mitzrayim, in a way of spreading outward beyond measure and boundary. That's the idea of ufaratza. Ufaratza is breaking through boundaries. When they're asked, why did you break through the boundaries? Why is it being demanded? Such a type of avoid in a way is beyond measure and boundary. The response for this is since the descent in matters of the other side is in a very low way. Therefore, it's necessary that avoid is beyond measure and boundary, breaking through its boundaries. Because that's where he continues in the pasuk. That he talks over there that the chazer will also be destroyed. The refining of the clip of a chazer is very difficult. The chazer stretches out his hooves and shows that he has kosher signs, mafres parsa. He has split hooves. Since we can make a mistake because of the signs of the kosher signs, so when a person tries to represent themselves of what they are not, that's a more difficult clip. But since the pig doesn't chew its cud, it's treif lepoil. Skip the brackets. L'chein, someone that represents themselves as being kosher when they're not, l'chein bir klipazu kosher b'yoyser, refining this clip is very difficult. Like spoken about many times, what the Chazal explained today, he tells him do like this. Sometimes Yitzhahar himself tells him to do something good. That's what it means. Meaning that he sometimes tells him to do good. He wants also in on it. But once he gets to be a Baldeya, he also has opinions about good things, so it's much more difficult to get him out of the picture when he tells him to do bad. The Dugmas Hadavar Acher, this is similar to Fluffov, similar to the Chazer that stretches out his hooves. Mamsh, because of the Pasuk continues, Alakim Tzvaka Shuvna Beit Shemayim Re'ei Ufkoid Zois, Geffen Zois. Hashem, the Shem of hosts, return again, look from the heavens, the sea, and remember this vine. In other words, the Eden are called a vine. Since the Yid did their service without paying attention to the great difficulty in the tests of the time of Golus, therefore they asked from the Eibishter, return and remember this vine, even though the Hashem remembered us when we went out of Mitzrayim, come again and do it. And the base that you're right planted, this base is also from the word a place that Hashem lives in, a place where it's a mochin for the Eibishter will bring them to their true place in the Holy Land. Srufa be'esh kasucha, it's talking about it's burnt up in fire, like the thorns. The matzah of the Beis Hamikdash with mana Golus la'achrei churban Beis Hamikdash. It's referring to the state and situation of the Beis Hamikdash in the time of Golus after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Zori tainosam shavnei Yisrael, and this is what the Yidden state. Asay lamanchem leilmanenu. Do it for your sake, if not for our sake. Ein shakadosh baruch hu tzarich la'avis ha'geula beroisish ha'Beis Hamikdash nimtzu v'mayim the matzah b'srufa be'esh kesucha. That the Eibishter has to bring the redemption when he sees the Beis Hamikdash is burnt and destroyed. Especially after everything that went by the Eden during the time of exile. Surely, even forget, before we were saying for Hashem's sake, now he's saying really because of our own merits, we are worthy for the general idea of the Geulah. Because that's what he continues in the pasuk. Let your hand be on the man of your right, on the son of man that you've strengthened. And the Eibush already has to redeem the Eden from the exile. Since the Eden are already the Hashem's right hand man. Even if there's someone that's not in that state to be called Hashem's right hand man, he's at least part of the category of Ben Adam. What's a Ben Adam? The son of the Adam that's Edmel Elyon. He has to do with Hashem. Ed Malali means I'm likened to above. Al Geulah Ilu Bnei Yisraeli, and the proof of the great ascent and elevation of the Yidden. It says, they did not turn back from you. Yehudi and Yochelius Nifrim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a Yid cannot be separated from Hashem. Like it's known, the teaching of the Alter Rebbe on the pasuk Shema Yisrael. Yehudi and Roitzev and Yochelius Nifrim Malakus, a Yid doesn't want and can't be separated from godliness. The Chalza and all this is Bli Habeta Amadim Matzavi, regardless of the state and situation. Even when we're speaking about the one who is the most lightest in their observance of Torah mitzvahs. The Indians misbate gambene geya hanhoga pal mamish, that's expressed itself also the way we actually act. Techayenu b'shimcha nikra, you give us life and we call out in your name. Messiah because of, and it concludes in the pasuk Havaya lekim tzvakas ashavenu hoyer penecha nivashei Hashem. The God is focused, return us, illuminate your face, and we shall become saved. Not only is our salvation coming because of Hashem's name of tzvakis, that's connected with Hashem's attribute of victory, which is known Kabbalistically as the thighs of Kedusha. Not only is this affected because of the name Elokim, Hashem's attribute of might. The entire idea that we become saved comes because of Shem Yudke Vavke, like it says, Havaya Elokim Tzvokos. It will be v'nivasheh. The Shem Havaya Nimshakam Lamata de Hashem Elokim. Shemus Elokim and Tzvakis, the name Havaya comes down to the lower and lower levels. Elokim and Tzvakis, further and further. The Golus, the Indian, the Higher Penacham and the Vasheh and Nemer Pedig Gimel Pam, the general idea of the illuminating your face, and we will become saved. It says in this pasuk 3 times, but even the Chutam Misholosh, like it says, a triple thread. A kosher Beis Hamikdash Shlishi is connected with the third Beis Hamikdash. The Golus orientally is connected with the general teaching of the three, the Torah, which is made up of 3 parts, Torah and Vim Ksuyim, and it's connected with the nation, Amplisoid, the nation of 3 parts, Israelim, Levim, and Kehanim. Karav Mamish Zechem Lakim Mayud Yetzel Kol Tivus Hashem at this time very speedily will merit the fulfillment of the promise. Then that all the hosts of Hashem will go out and land Mitzrayim, Ben Reinu, V'Skenenu, V'Neinu, V'Seinu, with our youth and our elderly and our sons and our daughters. From youth to elderly, young children and women, in such a way that's in one day, like the ruling of the Rambam, immediately they will be redeemed. Especially since the Geulah comes down and comes about through the name Yudke Vavke, which the name Yudke Vavke is a combination of Hoya, Hoy, Via, it's a combination of the 3 words. Was, is, and will be as one, which indicates that the Eibishter is beyond time, so the limitations of time do not fall into and limit us in any way whatsoever. The Ka'av to offend in such a way that he'll make us fly like the clouds of Adam and Anishmai. We will fly with the clouds of heaven. The Geulah mitzvah shleim, the true and complete redemption. Mamish, speedily in our days. Mamish.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Take care, everyone. Have a successful day.
Amen. Thank you so much. Take care.